This morning I was chanting Japa and I was thinking how when we become habituated to chanting Japa, which is not that good, it can be extremely difficult to change. And I wanted to speak about exactly what's going on psychologically that can make it difficult to change. If I'm trying to change a habit and I think it's going to be difficult, or worse, I think I can't do it, then I'm going to put myself in a situation where pretty much it's going to be impossible to change because I'm sabotaging myself. I'm creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm not believing I can do something. So I'm not saying it's that we shouldn't feel that it's not difficult to change. It is difficult to change, but it's not that difficult. And definitely, we shouldn't feel that it's impossible. So when I teach devotees how to improve their japa, I'm often teaching them to do things or develop attitudes or chant in ways which they're not used to. And whenever you try to do something you're not used to, you always tend to fall back into what's comfortable and what you normally do, because that's just the way we do it. And it can make changing seem extremely difficult, or it can make it seem impossible. So how do we deal with this? Well, I think the first thing to understand is that it is possible to change if we're determined to change and we're going to stick with it, but more basically, if we believe we can change. So the worst possible scenario is to come to this point and say, I've tried to change and I just can't. And that's not true. You can. You just haven't done it yet, or maybe you didn't have the right strategies, or you didn't have sufficient determination, or maybe you just convinced yourself that it's impossible, so you gave up on it. So what do we do? Well, if we realize that many devotees have been in similar situations, and I am no different than they are no different than I am, but some of them actually broke those old habits, and some didn't. So it's not really a question of qualification per se or spiritual advancement. It's really more a question of intention. Is this what I want to do? Do I realize the importance of chanting? Am I going to stick to it? Am I going to practice over and over again when I'm slipping away into my old habits? Am I going to practice doing the right thing? If we do that, if we believe in ourselves that we can change, it's going to happen. I have personal experience of this, and I know this is going to sound simple. And I think I may have explained this before, but I want to explain it again, because it's going to sound simple because it is simple, but because it's simple, you may not think it can actually work or it's that powerful. But anything that we decide, we put our minds to achieving, I don't say anything because you can't jump to the moon or, jump up and spin around 100 times, but in terms of our spiritual practice, what we set our mind to do, we can do it. So if I set my mind to chant better japa, if I set my mind to be more focused, if I set my mind to turn off my mind while I chant japa and turn on my heart so I can just be absorbed in praying, I can do that. I actually can do that. But interestingly, a lot of times we don't do that. We just let the mind go where it goes, and then we tell ourselves, it's just the way I am. It's just a habit. This is how it is. This is how it's always been. I've never been able to do anything differently. But at that point, if you tell yourself, I can do this. I can control my mind. I can be more focused. I can make a greater effort to chant good japa. Something magical happens. You break this little cycle, or this little, what's called you create self-efficacy, which means you're taking charge of a situation, and rather than letting it bring you down, you decide how you want that situation, at least your consciousness, to be, how you want your internal state to be. And you decide by telling yourself that I don't have to be distracted, I don't have to be inattentive, I don't have to chant apathetically, I don't have to be distracted. I can decide that I'm going to apply practices on my japa that are actually going to help it. I can decide right now that I'm just going to put my life aside and I'm going to focus. We can do that. But the only way we can do that is we have to be convinced that we can do that. And I know that sounds so simple, but this has been studied by psychologists, that once you get to this point where you believe you can't do it, then you've got a huge problem. What causes that belief? Well, here's if you made it this far, well, this is kind of the cream inside the cookie. Continually failing at achieving a result convinces us we can't achieve it. Now, this is important, so just stay with me. Because every time you employ a japa practice and you do it somewhat successfully, it then creates within your heart this belief that, oh, this can be done. I can do this. And so it becomes easier the next time. But every time you allow yourself to fall back into your bad habits, it becomes harder the next time. Because subconsciously what's happening is, it's like when you don't do it, it's like you're telling yourself, I can't do it. It's reinforcing that idea. So every time we give in to our conditioning and don't apply japa properly, it's reinforcing this belief that I can't do it, which then the next time I chant makes it even harder to do it and makes me more convinced I can't do it. The opposite takes place when I do it. Every time I do it, I become more convinced I can do it because I've done it. And each time, more convinced, plus by doing it regularly, it starts to become a habit. It just starts to become the way I chant. So I've broken out of that pattern, and now the beliefs have changed because I'm doing it, and beliefs often are simply byproducts of experience, of what we're doing. Oh, I believe I can do this. Why do you believe that? Because I'm doing it. It's actually happening. So this is very, very important, because to improve our japa, we're really trying to overcome some habit or energy, consciousness, which has been a certain way and which can seem to us it's going to be that way forever because that's the way we are and that's the only way we chant. But the real message is you don't have to chant the way you've always chanted. You can change that. But you have to believe that you can change that. And if you don't believe that you can change that, unfortunately, that's going to work against you and you won't be able to change it. Hare Krishna.